Morning and welcome to this week's market update. We love engaging with you guys, and as per your feedback, we're going to keep it short but still sweet. We walk you through stocks, currencies, commodities, and cryptocurrencies. Let's start off with stocks here. The stock story tells you the story of the FX market. You can see the DAX is the strongest performer on the week, and that's related to dollar strength, i.e. euro weakness, right? Another big story here is we've got US tech, one of the top performers as well. This is related to the tech earnings that came out this week, but you've got the rest of the US fairly mixed. And let's zone in on the US here. In the US, you've got the NASDAQ 100 up 1.69%. You've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 0.2%. You've got the S&P 500 down 0.24%. Right. Let's move on to Europe. We've got Euro stocks up 0.81%. You've got the FTSE 100 up 0.87%. You've got the DAX up 1.90%, top performer of the week. And as for Asia and Pacific, Nikkei 225 up 0.02%. ASX up 1.84%, second top performer there. You've got the Shanghai Composite up 0.29%. You've got the Hang Seng down 1.17%. And that's not in line with the rest of tech. But anyway, let's move on to Africa. You've got Nigeria down 0.06%. Nairobi down 0.07%. Zim up 3.39%. And the JSE up 0.36%. Now, what really sticks out like a sore thumb with the African indices is Zim up 3.39%. I said this last week, the stock market is probably the best place where you can get exposure to the positive sentiment around Zim.
And elections as well.
With elections coming up as well, I guess you should see more strength, particularly as the market starts to price in a Mnangagwa win. But I also think a lot of this is related to the currency. But speaking of currencies, let's move on to developed market currencies. The main story stays the same as last week. We've finally got a pop in the dollar, and the biggest beneficiary for this week again is the dollar versus the Swissy. Then if you slide right down to the other side of the scale, you've got broad-based pound weakness. And well, I wish I had caught that top, I must say. But another interesting space is emerging market currencies. Emerging market currencies, you have got the US dollar against the Russian ruble up 0.45%. US dollar against the Turkish lira up 4.6%. US dollar against the Brazilian real up 1.95%. US dollar against the Mexican peso up 3.27%. And the US dollar against the South African rand up 1.48%. I wasn't really following the story behind Turkey, but I saw the headlines. S&P downgraded Turkey further into junk, and that caused a significant spike in the currency.
Did they downgrade the currency or what?
They downgraded the sovereign debt.
Oh, okay.
Sovereign debt in Turkey, so that caused significant weakness in the currency, which was fairly stable prior to this. But anyway, let's move on to commodities. In the commodities space, you've got the story of the year, which is love for soft commodities, close to no love for the precious metals. Well, that's a bit of a stretch as far as precious metals go, because you've got silver, which is slowly starting to creep up, and I'm loving the relative trade between silver and gold right now, but that's a story for another day. Wheat up almost 6%, usually the top performer in the commodity space, and that hasn't changed. But off the books here, another interesting story is cocoa, which we spoke about. What was it? 2 weeks back. 2 weeks back, we spoke about cocoa and how prices were rising. However, traders were concerned about weather forecasts, which said that places like Ivory Coast would be getting more rainfall. And those concerns are still in the market today. But anyway, moving on from commodities, we have got a very interesting space in cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies, you've got Bitcoin up 2.84%. Ethereum up, let me correct myself again. Ether up 15.75%. XRP up 1.8%. And those are the main ones I'm looking at. Another debate that's been going on in the cryptocurrency space is around Bitcoin Cash. I saw a few Twitter rants going on, particularly involving Roger Ver, who has gone from become a Bitcoin evangelist to a Bitcoin Cash evangelist, essentially saying that the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper was describing Bitcoin Cash as the peer-to-peer cash system of the future, and that essentially that Bitcoin is just an experiment of that. But another interesting thing I've been looking at is the use of the quantity theory of money in order to value some of the cryptocurrencies that are meant to be used for payments. But you'll see a lot more of that on our website under the research section. Anyway, Taps, would you like to take us through the headlines for the week?
Earnings. I mean, they failed to prevent the weekly stock slide this week.
Well, they did. I guess the biggest part of the earnings story was
Apple.
It was just Apple. Apple was probably the stock that rose all boats in terms of bringing the Dow and the Nasdaq up, given the high concentration to it.
Tesla was good, right?
Tesla, it sparked a positive reaction, but as I said in the first market update, and I will continue to say, I'm bearish on Tesla, so yeah. I'll keep quiet about that one.
Spotify not as good.
Spotify, they were good numbers from Spotify actually. It just caused a negative reaction in the stock. I guess that was just more of the IPO buyers selling.
What about Alibaba? I missed that one,
Alibaba. I missed Alibaba too, but another very interesting one was Snap. Snap posted, well, it failed to beat analyst estimates as far as user growth went, and I guess it got what it deserved. I never liked Snap from the beginning, and I guess the stock is being punished. So
yeah.
but I wish that was one I wrote till the end.
Anyway, moving on to crude oil prices. I mean, they just continue to rise.
U.S. sanctions on Iran. Crude oil closed the week about 2% up. Well, 2% up on WTI. Brent has been, well, the WTI Brent spread has been increasing over the past year or so.
Could you see $100 a barrel anytime soon?
$100 a barrel. I'm not going to rule it out, but here's the thing: once you get $100 a barrel, it's almost time to start being cautious around the market. Obviously, because oil is one of the inputs. Well, it's one of the big industrial inputs, so it should drag down a lot of the Dow stocks.
And moving on, Bitcoin in 10,000. I mean, it's taking a real shot at this critical level.
It is taking a real shot. But an interesting thing I noted was Warren Buffett's comments at the shareholder meeting. Did you catch that? It's something we've mentioned before here, but it's the fact that Bitcoin is not an investment, and everyone who's in Bitcoin needs to realize this, because like Warren Buffett said, it's not a productive asset. You're not getting any cash flows in, so at best it's speculation.
Yeah, that's true. Another interesting comment from the AGM was, I mean, they've got a lot of cash, $100 billion in cash.
Very liquid, very liquid. I guess they probably aren't seeing as many opportunities in the market right now, but one interesting thing was the fact that they put a lot of money to work, as they bought, what was it, 75 million shares of Apple, and that also boosted the stock as well.
I see, quite interesting.
So hey, anyway,
moving on to the economic calendar. Today is a holiday in UK, which is the early May bank holiday. And on Tuesday, we have retail sales coming out at 5:30 a.m. for Australia. We also have China, which is set to release April trade figures on Tuesday morning, which are expected to be at $27.5 billion. On Thursday, Latin will be celebrating Ascension Day, as it is a holiday in Sweden. And PPI numbers from the US are coming out at 4:30 p.m. And we also have New Zealand with its interest rate decision also due. Moving on to Thursday, we have US inflation data, which is due to come out at 2:30 p.m. And another major one is the Bank of England will announce its rate decision at 2 p.m. on Thursday, with market expectations now overwhelmingly towards interest rate being held at the current 0.5% rate. We also have core CPI for the US coming out on Thursday. Then on Friday, we have President Draghi, who is going to give a speech at 5:15 in the evening. We also have a dozen Fed speakers which will be speaking during the weeks, and traders will be watching for clues on the pace of future rate hikes this year. And lastly, earnings season starts to wind down, and about 40 S&P 500 companies are due to report financial results this week.
Interesting item on the agenda for this week, particularly with the last S&P 500 companies reporting. But unfortunately, my trade idea isn't off S&P 500 companies or the S&P 500 index itself. It is to go long the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Main reason behind the trade is the broad-based dollar strength that we've seen over the past few weeks. If we look over at the daily chart, you've got a bit of a tweezer bottom that came in on Friday, and I'm looking to go long at current levels with a stop loss at 108.30. 150 just to give the trade room to breathe. Looking for a target of about 110 and with a 1.168 Fibonacci retracement level drawn on there. I'd also be looking at 111 as the second target for the trade. We move over to the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart, it kind of shows sort of a rounding bottom. So this is probably the make or break point for this trade. Taps, what do you think?
Looking at the chart, and if you're right, we could actually realize targets of like 130 and 115, especially if it breaks around the 114 area. I mean, there could be significant potential upside, of course, with pullbacks, but if you're right, it could be a rally. I mean,
that's true. Well, when you're talking about 113, 115 levels, that could potentially be a medium-term target. But given the short-term nature of this trade, I've decided to be conservative using the 110 and 111 levels. But that brings us to the end of our weekly market update. Please like the video if you like this content and subscribe to the channel. Please make use of the comment section as well, because we love to engage with you guys. And with that, tatin.
siyabonga.